Hi, 8th graders. What I would like you to do today is flip to the back of your packet and look at this heading here, Independence Station. Our objective today is that I will be able to explain the ways in which railroad has affected Louisiana's culture and economy. So with that, let's get started filling out some of our guided notes. We're going to talk about the Industrial Revolution and how that gave rise to the railroad. So, the Industrial Revolution took place over more than a century as production of goods moved from home businesses, where products were generally crafted by hand, to machine-aided production in factories. This revolution, which involved major changes in transportation, manufacturing, or the making of goods and services, and communications, transformed the daily lives of Americans as much as, and arguably more than, any single event in U.S. history. So, the Industrial Revolution, super important in American history. The concentration of industry in the Northeast also facilitated the development of transportation systems such as railroads and canals, which encouraged commerce and trade. The technological innovation that would come to mark the United States in the 19th century began to show itself with Robert Fulton's establishment of the steamboat service on the Hudson River, Samuel F. B. Morse's invention of the telegraph, and Elias Howe's invention of the sewing machine, all before the Civil War. Take a moment right now in your exit ticket to paraphrase in your own words what the Industrial Revolution was, right here. I'll get you started. An event in history between 1800 and 1870 in which, and fill the rest of that out. So use this passage up here to help you answer this question. What happened in this revolution? You'll also be able here to answer this question. Give one way in which the Industrial Revolution changed American society for the better. Go ahead and look in this paragraph to help you answer this question. For the final sentence, give one way in which the Industrial Revolution damaged American society. Watch in the following videos to get some background, and then fill it out after the videos are done.
Today, we live in a world that's so full of...
First, let me change screens.
products. It's hard for us to imagine what life was like before machines. Prior to the Industrial Revolution, a working person would be lucky to have one or two shirts. To make fabric, there were people spinners whose whole lives were running these spinning wheels and turning cotton or wool or other fabrics into threads, which then could be woven on looms to make fabric to make it something like a shirt. What Arkwright did was he said, there's got to be some way to speed this process up. He created a machine that was partly based on how clocks work to control the process of spinning cotton fibers. He used a water wheel to power the machine, and the machines that he built could be replicated. He made these factories bigger and bigger. As long as you had a good supply of the raw material cotton, you could turn out huge quantities of fabric in a way that had never been possible before. So Arkwright didn't just invent the spinning machine, he invented the modern factory.
The spinning machine turned England into a powerhouse. Before that, they were dependent on cotton from India. Now, they could ship the raw cotton in and make the thread themselves there, and England became known as the center for that.
We had access to goods in relatively inexpensive ways that didn't exist before. There were jobs, plentiful jobs, for people who were moving to the cities where most of these machines and these factories were emerging.
A lot of times we look at the dark side of the Industrial Revolution, the crowded tenements and the dirty, dangerous factories. But at the same time, it was a period of enormous social progress, too. We saw great gains in health and literacy and social mobility, where people's lives weren't entirely dictated by their social class or what their parents did. Human history is a march towards greater individual freedom and possibility. As you see, throughout the Enlightenment period and all the way through the Industrial Revolution, as technology gets better, as knowledge begins to spread, it becomes more within reach of ordinary people in ways we've never seen before in human history.
In the late 1700s, most people worked in the fields, on land they did not own. Those who owned the land, called aristocrats, lived refined lives in elegant manor houses. Servants raised their children and did their housework. The landowners and the people who worked for them depended upon each other. It was a system that had existed for centuries. In towns across England and the United States, a series of extraordinary innovations would alter the way people lived and worked for the next 150 years. Inventors had found new ways to harness nature's energy. They built new kinds of machines, powered by water, steam, and coal. The new machines replaced hand-powered tools. They did the same work, only cheaper and faster. Much of the work was done outside the home, in specially designed buildings, the first factories. Mechanization began in the textile mills of England, where one machine attached to a spinning wheel could do the work of 50 people. Fuel, clothing, and food all became more affordable. With the development of locomotives and steamboats, manufactured goods could now be sold halfway around the world. Families moved from the villages of their ancestors to new industrial towns. And a new class of people emerged, workers who produced goods. Industrialists, the people who owned the factories, employed hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. And they made enormous profits in their industrial centers. But while the Industrial Revolution brought wealth to some and jobs for others, it came with a price tag. Pollution from coal-powered factories turned the cities black. Lack of housing created the first urban slums. And the demand for more and more goods and higher profits brought the exploitation of workers, including children. Some of the worst conditions were seen in the textile mills of New England. In the 1830s, a 10-year-old mill girl described her life.
We were paid $2 a week, and the working hours of all the girls extended from 5 o'clock in the morning till 7 in the evening, with 1.5 hour for breakfast and for dinner.
It was the hiring of children, some as young as 5 years old, throughout the 1800s and early 1900s, that outraged the public.